Okay, guys, we are starting one of the craziest and weirdest and not talked about stories in the Bible ever. But before we do that, we need to discover our foundation. We got to get there. Okay, so if you know anything about the story of Noah, I want to know what in the world. What do we gain? What do we learn? Hi, Addison. What do we learn from the story of Noah? What are some, maybe you've listened to a podcast or a sermon before or whatever. What are some good moral lessons that you've learned from the story of Noah? Flood, okay? What does that mean? Can you expound on it? If I got up there and preached on it and I just was turn with me to Genesis 6. Flood! Okay, we're good. Yeah. Okay, so no matter what God does, well, that's so long. Can't you shorten it? No matter what man falls, okay. So that's a glass half empty type of look there. I like it. All right, yes, Anna? Okay, and where did you get that from? What made you think that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, he was only blameless. Okay, good. Anybody else? Birds are good. But what? Okay. Okay. There's a whole story back there behind that. Addison, we'll fill you in. You don't want to know. Don't ask. Yes? Water is good. It's also bad. It's a lot of things. Okay. Okay. Water. Okay. That was okay. Water. Let's just say water is. Okay. There you go. I'm going to preach that on a Sunday morning too. Water is good. And also bad. And other things too. Oh, water is death and baptism. And if you baptize long enough, water still equals death. Got it. Yes, I like that theme. It's good. Formless and void. Yes, I like that too. Okay.
He made a big rainbow, so I learned that rainbows are basically another way of saying I'm sorry.
Okay.
Whenever you need to say sorry, you just give someone a rainbow.
Okay. Happy rainbow. Okay. Yep. Rainbow is a promises from God. Okay. Anything else? Okay. I'm going to go in between capitals and non-capitals. Don't ask. Okay. All right. So we are talking about the Noah story. Now, side note, I'm currently been in the mode of preparing a class that I'm teaching adults starting this Sunday. So two things. Number one, be praying for that, because that's the first time that I'm actually going to get to speak to actual adults, in a class, and it's blowing up. There's almost 60 people in it, which is insane for a class. And so y'all be praying for that. But secondly, because I've been I'm teaching that on Jonah, I am going to, at some point during this, say Jonah and the ark and Noah and the whale at some point. So just ignore it. If you catch it, you get extra bonus points, okay? All right? I just can't get that out of my mind. But there's obviously a point to this story, right? We read this story. We hear it all the time. How many guys have ever, read a book like one of these? Yeah, or had one read to you, right? Yeah, it's so cute, right? In fact, here's a true story. When Lauren and I bought our first house and we had Elena was just a baby, and we decided we had an extra bathroom that we're going to cutesify up or whatever. It's a real word. Look it up. So we cutesified it, and we were we want it to be biblical because I'm a nerd, and that's what I do, make things biblical for no reason at all. And so we decorated all this really cute Noah's Ark stuff, right? We had shower curtains and figurines and little soap dispensers. It was super Noah's Ark. It looked like Noah's Ark vomited in that bathroom. It was amazing, right? But one day I was bathing my baby in the water and looking at this mass extinction event brought on by waters, and I'm going, this seems weird. Like, this is weird to me that I've now cutesified this story about bodies drowning and floating in the water and everything dead.
And you had your child.
Yeah, and I'm like scrubbing, I'm like washing shampoo out of her hair. I'm like, waters of life, like.
You think about bodies in the water, your child just is.
Yes, yeah, there's like little toys floating in there or something. I'm like, oh, that was a baby. That baby is not there anymore, right? But it's weird, right? Why is it that it's like that? Why do you think we've made it this like lovely children's story? Oh, go ahead, talk out loud. Just a bit. So, in other words, when I lay Sadie down, my 3-year-old tonight at bed, I shouldn't like open up this children's book and say, "This is a story called Floaters." The Lord regretted ever creating human beings, and he was sad. So the Lord said, I'm going to wipe all of human race off the face of the earth. While I'm at it, I'm going to kill all the livestock and the crawling things too. I'll kill even the birds in the sky. I wish I'd never created any of them in the first place. And then I kiss her on the forehead, and I say, good night, sweet girl. This book is not appropriate, okay? This is an inappropriate book made of nothing but Bible stories. Called Awkward Moments Children's Bible.
Why do you have that?
Because it makes a perfect point, right? Because we've all read that story. But how many of us have read this story? And this is actually the story, right? Other than when I showed it to you, right? Huh? I mean, there's dinosaurs dead, like right there. It's just like all the dinosaurs. There's a person and kitty cat, a walrus. Just kidding, right? It may have been in Freya. Okay, yeah. But my favorite part about this whole picture is it kept the happy people on the boat pictures of like this. Like, look at all the happy animals on the boat in the sunshine. They're all like, yay, we're 2x2 on the boat, right? It's so cute, right? So cute. Okay, but my question is, what in the freaking world? Like, what is the point of this story? It's 6 pages in the Bible, guys, and most, almost, if not all, have like never read it, really. Now, if you've been here for a couple of years, we've been through portions of this, so if you know kind of like a little bit of the background of the story, I want you to hang out, okay? I want you not to talk about it for a little bit because I think it's important. But it's not something that goes away. It's even something that still goes on. In fact, in the last like 15 years, how many of you guys have ever seen Evan Almighty, right? It's a great movie. Love that movie. It's a good movie, right? How about the Noah? Yeah, it's super weird. It's like a strange movie, but it's not based off of the biblical account. It's based off of the rabbinical tradition. So the weird stuff that's in that movie, he actually took from rabbi's tradition. So like the weird stuff where there's like a mountain that can like stand up and walk and talk and all that stuff, it's all rabbinical actually in tradition, but it's weird. And then just a couple years ago, they opened a life-size ark in Kentucky in the Creation Museum. Have you been there? Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, right? So, but it does raise some questions, right? Some like big major questions. Like, how many have ever thought about the question of like, was this an actual worldwide flood? Anybody ever wonder that? Like, how many think this was an actual worldwide flood? Okay. How many think maybe it was just a regional flood, like just in one area? Okay. How many think it was like just not even a flood at all? Maybe it was just like a plot device or something to make a point. Okay. So have you ever heard people argue, like in science and stuff, how we can prove that it's a worldwide flood and here's the geological reasons why? Anybody ever hear that? Or anybody ever hear like, this is what killed the dinosaurs, right? Some have heard that. And have you also heard the other side of that? Science is like, you idiots, that's not what killed the dinosaurs, it was a comet. Like, you dummies, or asteroid, right? And like, it was definitely not a flood. And then you hear the other Christian geologist is like, no, there's a whole section of dinosaurs in the Midwest that all died like this. Like they were trying to breathe, right? Right? Huh? So that's what they think. I don't know. That's the point. Okay, here's the point. Christians can't agree whether it was a real flood, a figurative flood, a literal flood across the world, a regional flood. Science and Christians don't agree as to whether that's what killed the dinosaurs, that actually happened, that didn't happen. There's proof of it, undeniable proof of it. There's undeniable proof of absolutely not. There's also 300 plus different flood of stories that have been written down for thousands of years before even this one was written down. Like forever before that, there were whole flood accounts that are different, like totally different. So what do you do with this? Like, how come there's 300 flood stories all across the world from all these different cultures? And why is it that Christians can argue definitively that it was clearly real, and non-Christians can argue definitively that it clearly never happened? What do we do with that? These are the type of questions that you need to be asking when you're reading the Bible. Why? Because you will discover what you are bringing to your Bible study. For instance, if you read this account believing it is not a real event, will you read it differently than if you were to read it like in an actual worldwide flood? Yeah? Would you read it differently if you thought it was just a flood that occurred in Israel and that's it? Yeah. It's going to bring different thoughts and feelings and things like that to the story. What I want you to do is wipe that away. Okay? Everybody go. Nailed it. Good job. Thank you, guys. Wipe it away, because we are going to go through this, and we're going to just, as a family, as a group, we're going to study it. We're going to look at it. We're going to spend however long it takes, and we're going to get weird. Okay? I'm just going to be honest. It gets weird. Super weird. Okay? So, Genesis chapter 6. I'm going to read aloud, and this is my encouragement to you. I don't want you to read with me. In fact, it'd be great if you closed your eyes. The reason being is this, for thousands of years, was meant to be spoken aloud and people listening. And if you add listening to what your Bible study is before you actually study it, I promise you, you'll get more out of it. It's an audible type language, and that's what it's supposed to do. So I'm going to read one paragraph. It's 4 verses. I want you just to listen to it, and then as a table, you're going to spend about 5-10 minutes talking about like just whatever comes to mind. Okay? We're going to trust that God's going to guide us down the right directions, okay? All right, here we go. 4 verses. Genesis chapter 6, starting in verse 1. When man began to multiply on the face of the land and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive, and they took as their wives any that they chose. Then the Lord said, My spirit shall not abide in man forever, for he is flesh. His days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterwards, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. And break. Okay, you got 5 minutes. Why don't you just talk about group here, what stood out, what questions you have, what your thoughts are, what's going on, anything that you go, okay? Guys. All right, let's talk here. What'd you guys think? What would you come up with? What's your thoughts? Yeah, go ahead, Gage. Do angelic beings live forever? Okay, so let's do that. So angels live forever. That's a good question. What's your thoughts?
Yeah.
Why?
Because it talks about them being on the part of God's Spirit.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah?
Says that man within the flesh for his days, which is 120 years. So, like, I don't know, like, what happened to the women? Like, were they already, like, dead, or, like, what?
Okay. All right, so there's a question about the women versus the 120-year thing. Okay. Anybody else? Questions or thoughts? Yep.
How did the Nephilim survive?
Nephilim surviving. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Riley?
What my thoughts were is that this could be like a punishment for people who basically how the man of the sons of God were coming in and they're dealing with the women who were living for like a really long time, so that because we don't want like the spirit of God to be down there all the
Okay. So we got punishment, sons of God, in the 120 years. Okay. Yep. Evan? Okay. Anybody else? Huh? Yes.
Okay, so like part of the thing with like why he did it with the Nephilim is that he was talking, he called them like they want to when he said my spirit, he was talking about the Nephilim, how I did want my spirit dwelling in the flesh. So like one of the reasons for like not wanting the Nephilim there is that God's spirit doesn't belong with,
Okay.
or like specifically not like not regardless, he's supposed to be like
Okay.
ours, but it doesn't belong to like
Okay. Yeah. It still revolves around the question of that statement. Okay, anything else?
Are the Nephilim evil angels?
Thank you. Thank you for asking that. That's good. So, number one, we have jumped to a bunch of conclusions immediately, and that's not fair for some of you because you've been a part of this group for a while. But can we be honest in here? How many of you have never heard this? What angels doing something and raping women and having children? Before a couple years ago, I had never heard this ever, right? How many of you were like, yeah, it's totally normal. I've read this. I know. Okay, but there's some in here who have not heard that. So we have some questions to answer. And so what I want to do is I'm going to take this line by line, and we're going to just talk. Now, what are some of the things that I tell you to be on the lookout for whenever we're reading? Yeah. Okay, repeating words, yeah, or phrases, yeah. Hard right turns. Yep. Squirrel. Yep. Anybody? Anything else? Yeah, there's a whole box of them right here. Yep. Yep. When something's vague, are you trying to write this part down, or are you writing something else down?
Oh, no, it's just for, like...
Just period. Okay, got it. If it's real vague, if it's incredibly vague, or on the opposite side of that, overly detailed. Right. Uh-huh. Anything else? Like the story about the dead walrus, we didn't need a name, or those are incredibly detailed for no reason. So, okay. Okay, but actually that's the perfect example. Hey, actually, Riley, that's the perfect example, right? No, here's the point though. If you would have just said a walrus was killed somewhere else, that would have a lot less meaning to us than if you were to say there was this cute and shiny little walrus over here, and her name was Freya, and she did nothing to the world except sunbathe, blah, blah, blah. You added all this extra detail that was going to draw us into an emotional state so that when you hammered it with, she still died, it had some sort of an effect on your emotions.
response was, how come they couldn't Riley make her upset?
No, actually what I was thinking is, I wonder if they ate her. Walrus might taste good, I don't know.
It does.
It does? Okay, that's good to know. Okay, speaking of evil, every intention of my heart must be towards Riley. Let's move on. All right, here we go. Let's just start here. So our question as we go is, when man began to multiply on the face of the land, is there anything that we should be thinking at this moment? Is that a good thing, a bad thing? Does that tie to anything? What do you think? Why do you think it's a good thing? Oh, when did he say that? Was that not that long ago? Yeah, so we're on page 6. So that was said on page 2 and 3, right? Be fruitful, multiply. Be fruitful and multiply. So, already, if we've never read this before, we're thinking, when man began to multiply in the face of the earth, you're like, ding, 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 nailed it. In fact, that wasn't just something God said, it was attached specifically to a blessing. And God blessed them and said, be fruitful and multiplying. So, are they being blessed right now? Yay! Good job, mankind. You guys rock. All right, on the face of the land, Side note, that's a Bible pun right there. You want to know why? Because it says, when man began to multiply on Adam, on the face of Adam. It's funny. It's good. It's funny. Okay. On the face of the Adamah, and daughters were born to them. So, the daughters were born to who? Them. But who is the them? Who is the subject? Okay, so when daughters were born to the man, right? Boom, man, daughters were born to man. The sons of God. Okay, who the heck is this again? Okay, you're jumping ahead. Don't jump ahead. If you're reading this, the who? And why would you jump to that? Those might be angelic beings. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so you're seeing Jesus as the Son of God. Okay, you've heard that title before. All right, so that might be a good way to look at that. Any other reason?
It talks about how my spirit shall not abide in
Nope, don't jump ahead. Not yet. How about the fact that it's specifically contrasting the daughters of man versus sons of God? So you have two subject men, man and God, right? So you clearly see like the sons of man would just be, he could have said sons of man. He just said daughters of man, so why couldn't he said sons of men, right? So we're clearly contrasting something weird here. What's one way we can figure out whether or not this is a human? Like, how many of you guys think these are humans? How many think these are not humans? Great, prove it to me in the Bible. How would you go about doing that? No, reading ahead is not going to tell you either. Yeah, nope, that's still not going to tell you anything either, because guess what? Scholars, biblical scholars, disagree with you. No matter which side you're on. There are people who have spent their entire life getting doctorates and things that like Riley's dad got, and they will argue to their death that this is A, heavenly beings, or B, the godly line of Seth. And they have multiple verses that they will argue for both sides. Who's right? Good. Good. Great. The Bible's right, exactly. So, my question is, how can we begin, if you were at home and you were reading this and you're like, wait, what? What could be one way that you could then go down the path of trying to figure out who the heck the sons of God are? Because it doesn't say, oh, by the way, the sons of God are heavenly beings that are up in the sky. Yeah. Yes. Mason's on it. Okay, so the God, you mean, when you clicked on God, it said Elohim, right? Elohim, one of the meanings was angels, so you could do that. You could easily go there. Your instincts are perfect. They're right there. First of all, Elohim, does it say singular or plural? Yeah, so plural. Elohim is used all throughout the Bible for both the name of God or just God. It just means, actually, let me correct this. When you say God or Elohim, Elohim in the Bible is not a name. It's just saying deity. So you're like, dear deity, we love you, deity. It's just a weird thing. God, his personal name was given in Exodus, it's Yahweh. It's the capital L, Lord, in the Bible, it's Yahweh, okay? Everybody say Yahweh. I know, I like it. It's like a whisper, right? Okay, Yahweh. All right, so what you could do is on Step Bible, you're like, you know what? Let's figure out when sons of God are used. So if you go to the little search panel, sons of God in quotes, very important, because otherwise you're going to be going in the weeds. If you don't put the quotes, you're going to be in the weeds, because it's going to show you everything that has sons in it, everything that has sons of God, everything that has God in it, and that's a lot of verses. So sons of God in the weeds. You get these verses, Genesis chapter 6, verse 2 and 4. But then you get Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 8. Somebody read to me that Deuteronomy 32, verse 8. Do it nice and loud and proud.
When the Most High gave to the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind
Okay, so we got sons of God again, according to the number of them. What the heck is this situation? What do you think? Can you think of the time when God divided mankind and fixed borders? Babel, right? We're going to make a name for ourselves and build a tower up, and then God's going to come down to them, right? And he's going to laugh at them, and he's going to give them what they were afraid of. Let us come together and make a name for ourselves and build this up, lest we get spread across the world. Then cut to the end, God spreads them across the world and confuses their language, so they call them Babel, right? Babylon. It's actually the word Babylon. Believe it. Babylon. It's the same word. So Babylon. There you go. Okay? So he divides mankind. He divided them according to the number of human people, human sons of God, or heavenly people. Can you say that definitively? No. So we need to keep going, right? Let's keep going. Let's just keep moving. Okay. Just keep swimming. Okay, Job chapter 1. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before God, Yahweh, and Satan also was there among them and presented himself before the Lord. So, what's this? Where are we at? Are we on the physical earth or are we in the supernatural realm? How do you know that? Yeah, they came to present themselves. We know 2 for sure spiritual beings of some sort. Satan, the Satan, and God, Yahweh. And then you got the sons of God there too. So what is this like scene? What's this look like? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so no matter what, even if it was humans, they were in the presence of God, right? Okay, so it could still be humans maybe, but maybe dead ones. Or it could be heavenly beings, yes. Supernatural is like outside of the natural world. The natural world is like the physical realm. It's like the things that you can see, smell, touch, that kind of thing. So supernatural would be like spirit, like a spirit, or consciousness kind of fits into the supernatural being. It's not measurable, you can't feel it, you can't touch it, taste it, that kind of thing, but it's there, right? And supernatural is existing in a different realm of things that are not of the natural world. Okay, so it could be like spirits or angels or God. He doesn't live just in this realm. He lives outside of this realm too. He's omnipresent in all realms. Okay, that makes sense? Okay, so we got a council meeting going on, taking place. So now we are kind of leaning a little bit more towards this sons of God situation. Now, just to save us some time, if you were to continue down this search and you found yourself in Psalm 82, this is going to be important. You somehow managed to get to Psalm 82. It says, God has taken his place in the divine council. So there's a divine council meeting. It's like a student council. Anybody part of student council or anything like that? Okay, you sit in a meeting at student council. This is a student council meeting for God, right? In the midst of the gods, when you click on it, look at that, Elohim. Mason found it. Congratulations. So God, Elohim, has taken his place in the Elohim council, in the midst of the Elohim, and he holds judgment. So he's in a divine council, and there's one Elohim in the midst of many Elohims, and he's going to hold judgment. And he says, how long are you going to judge unjustly? How long are you going to show partiality to the wicked? How long are you just going to continue to do this and let this wickedness happen? Who's he talking to? Huh? The council? Are these heavenly beings or are these earthly beings? Say it. Heavenly. We are in a council, in a heavenly meeting, just like in Job 1. They're presenting themselves before God, and God has given them something. He's like, how long are you going to do this? How long are you going to show partiality? How long are you going to, let the unjust succeed? He's speaking to beings that are giving report to him over nations that he placed them over when he separated them at Babel. Are you starting to see the picture kind of formulate? God has a student council. The student council has their own little portions of responsibility. God is partnering with them, and they're coming and bringing accusing accusations, like saying, hey, look, there's this Hitler dude, he sucks. We should do something about him. And God's like, yeah, you know what? Do that. But instead, they're like, you know what, Hitler, you're good. Keep going. You should take out the Jews. You see what I'm saying? There's beings over each of these nations, and these beings report to God. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, like humans. And God chose to partner with them. And then he says at the end, I said you're gods, sons of the Most High. There's that word. Sons of the biggest God, the best God, right? You are sons of the Most High. Elyon, Elohim, or Ben Elyon, all of you. Nevertheless, like men, you're going to die. There's our word right there. Boom. Sons of the Most High, sons of God, like men, you're going to die. Humans. So here's where you get this idea that we're clearly in the supernatural realm. We've got some heavenly being, right? Now, let's go back to it. We're almost done. We'll end here in just a second here. So now we're back to Genesis chapter 6. We got when the sons of God saw that the daughters of man were attractive and took as their wives any that they chose. Good thing, bad thing. Make your vote. Why is it a bad thing? How do you know? Stop reading ahead. How do you know? Huh? Shouldn't take people? Yeah, okay, so let me ask it this way then. Is there anything before this? Because the way that Scripture works, right, is Addison walks in today and hears me mention something about dead walruses and giggles, and it's like, that's a weird statement for you to make, right? But there's a little more context that she's needed. So then I start talking to Riley, and I'm like, you know what? Your walrus friend Freya sucks, and she deserves to die. I mean, did not deserve to die is what I meant to say. Suddenly, Addison's got a little more context to this verse, and now for me to say walruses died now actually means something more because I'm clearly distraught. Riley is now distraught because of what I'm saying. And so now Addison understands, based off of my weird conversation that I'm having here, that my weird wording up here, oh, this suddenly makes more sense, and it's hilarious, right? So the way Scripture works is you'll read dead walruses, and you're like, oh, that's good, and then I'll make a whole sermon out of it. I'll be like, you know what? If you don't want your walruses to die, then they should just be somewhere else and away from people, right? And, morality, the walruses were good and better people than and I can make a whole sermon out of this. But the truth is that what I'm trying to get at? No, I'm trying to get at the fact that I'm really making fun of Riley, who's a great and fantastic storyteller.
If I wasn't a pastor's kid, I could leave.
It's so true. So here's the truth. Here's the truth. What came before this that if you were just reading dead walruses may suddenly make this context make way more sense that oh, this is not good. Because what I've read before is be fruitful and multiply. Good job! Oh, I want to go over here. No! Yes, please. When Eve took fruit from the tree. Now, how do you know those two meet? How do you know that? We're supposed to read this statement here and go, Eve! Because you got to make the Bible writers are doing it on purpose. They're saying words like dead and walrus and Riley and Frio, and I'm not talking about a river, right? Okay? Annalie. Okay, pause. Okay, you just screamed a whole bunch of things, right? So what happened? You mentioned Shechem. Shechem, what about Shechem?
It's Lamech. It's Lamech. I had 2 wives.
Lamech had 2 wives, and he was a bad guy.
Okay, how do you know Lamech? What? I know, no. How are you not just pulling this out of thin air? How do you know that they're connecting those two stories? Yeah, but no, he had 3 sons, but he had multiple wives. But how do you know they're tying together? Repeated words and phrases. Repeated words and phrases. Repeated words and phrases! Lamech took 2 wives and murdered 2 people. Say, took. Killed. Okay, now, where else in the Bible have we seen somebody see something that's delightful and took it? Huh? David saw Bathsheba, that she was beautiful and naked, and he took her. And it ended in what? Death! Uriah's dead, baby's dead. Holy smokes, that just got crazy. Can you think of any time before Genesis 6? I'm sorry, what? Eden, you mean 3 chapters ago? 3 chapters ago, the serpent's like, nah, God just wants you to be like him, having his knowledge right. And she sees the fruit. that it's delightful to the eyes, that it's desirable to give her wisdom, and she took it. And it ended in what? Nakedness and death. Oh, yikes. Okay, everybody say saw. Say took. Say desired. Beautiful. Death. Okay, now how about this? Potiphar's wife saw Joseph, that he was so good looking, and she desired to take him. And he ends up naked and in the pit, which we all know is like a metaphorical language for death, right? In the prison, right? See, what's happening is you're not getting walruses dead. You're getting context that somehow is filling in all these stories by looking at all these other stories. And then suddenly you're like, whoa, there's something here. And now you're asking, what the junk are heavenly beings raping women for? Well, it goes all the way back to the very first thing. What was the very first thing we talked about up here in the purple? God blessed them. He blessed. Everybody say blessed. Blessed. Say it again. Blessed. Thank you. Riley, say blessed. Blessed. Who did God bless? Man, yeah. He blessed them to be fruitful, multiply. Why does that stand out? Why would that stand out with heavenly beings? Say it. So if he didn't bless them, then are we to believe that they get to have children? So no. And heavenly beings, well, when they blessed him, where were we? When did he bless man? Like what, In what chapters or what part of the, what time frame was that happening? Okay, chapter 2, in the creation time, right? He blessed them, be fruitful, multiply, in the creation experience. So when he creates man, he sets them to rule earth, but they used language somewhere else right before this to rule something else. What was that? Man is set, blessed in the earth and called to rule it. But this isn't the only time we've heard rule something in the creation event. Anybody remember in the creation event when he set something somewhere and they had to rule that place? Everybody say the stars. Yeah. So the stars are created and placed in the sky and set to rule with the greater light and the lesser light, the sun and the moon, right? To have dominion over the sky. And everywhere else you read in the Bible when they talk about stars, they're always personified as beings. So in other words, it's like this little glimpse of when God created the heavenly beings, set them in the sky, which just represents like the supernatural world, and told them to rule there. But he didn't bless them. Why? Because he was going to make man later the, younger sibling of creation here. And then he's going to favor that younger sibling and let them be blessed. How are they going to be blessed? By being fruitful, multiply. Cut forward to the next heavenly being we talk about, the Nakash, the serpent, who goes, nah. God just doesn't want you to be like him. Then there's the fall and the death, and God makes a promise to the serpent. He says, one day, the seed of a woman, the seed of that man, will crush you. And so now if you're a heavenly being called the Nakash, the serpent, Satan, and you hear that the offspring of man, which is a blessing, will one day kill me, suddenly you get an event or an idea pop into your head where, hey, you know what? Forget that. Let's go down and ruin that bloodline. Let's go and ruin those genetics. Because if it's the seed of the woman and a heavenly being, that's not seed of man. What is that? Is that an eternal being? Is that a temporal being? What the heck is this thing? I don't know. The Bible doesn't even know. It just calls them Nephilim. And you're like, what? What is the Nephilim? And they're just like, yep. Men of the name. You're like, what? That didn't clear anything up. And you're like, yep, I know. We're going to get into that later. Okay? So, what we get, and this is so important, is we get a next fall that's happening. We got the Adam and Eve fall. Now we get Noah's Ark fall, which what's going to happen is everything's going to become corrupt and wicked, but the setting to the whole thing is that now we have a rebellion again where heavenly beings see the fruit, that it's delicious and wise for giving them blessings that they weren't given, and also desirable because it's going to mess up all the bloodlines of the humans, which are supposedly going to kill their boss, right? And so they take for themselves wives that they chose, and they have kids with them. And then we're going to cut forward to God, aching God to his heart and saying that he regrets making man because the end of all flesh has now come up before God. How many have ever heard this story like it? This is God's wrathful judgment and murdering a bunch of people, basically, right? So why would you read that it ached God to his heart and that he regretted making man? That sounds like a regretful, sad God, right? And then it says, I've determined to put an end to all flesh because the end of all flesh has come up before me. What does that mean? What does the end of all flesh come up before me mean? Does that mean that God is going to end all flesh? Or does that mean something happened down there that now God has realized, oh, they're all going to die? The end of all flesh has come up before me. And now you see God going, we got to stop this. We're going to get into this later, again next week. What I want you to do is I want you to read those first 4 verses again. And I want you to come prepared next week talk about just some more cool, crazy stuff in there, okay? Those same 4 verses, okay? See what you can find, see what you see, okay? Somebody close us in prayer. Go ahead, Riley.